that's the other thing I was going to ask you about is what do you coming from, obviously coming from another country, you came here later after you were already an adult, so you can see that I guess the cultural differences. You're not just born native here, and in the United States, understand other cultures. Is there a cultural difference that you think, hey, even take outside the DoD, just our general schooling as children and as a nation? Is there something we need to be doing differently? Is it education? Is it just the fact that we've been so complacent for so long and we never have wars on our soil? I mean, you get September 11, things like that, but generally, I feel like people are more complacent. Used that term earlier. Is that how big of a problem is complacency, and just in the younger generation, I guess?
Yeah, obviously the culture is vastly different, right, between nations. France is also not a great of a culture because there's also this kind of continuous assistance of people, right? We get free healthcare. I remember having employees that got a pimple literally on their hand and take 2 weeks off because they couldn't type on a keyboard anymore for 2 weeks, right? I mean, I've seen it all, including, those guys getting paid in the meantime, right? So that's also a very toxic culture, 35 hours a week, all this kind of nonsense. How do you compete? There's a balance. I like the fact that, sometimes we spend too much time working and don't realize the efficiency and the outcomes vastly decrease if you work too much too. So it has to be balanced,
right.
But clearly I wasn't a big fan of what was going on in France. That's why I left, and I could relate much more, to the commercial, American dream aspect of the United States. That's why I always felt home here, because it's kind of my brain already worked this way. It wasn't a play pretend kind of thing. It's just the way I think.
Exactly,
I'm more concerned about what I've seen now, between the Silicon Valley companies. There's kind of two bubbles, right? There's a DoD bubble, stuck in time, no cell phone in the building, Congress, with no term limits, completely outdated for a good, 70-80% of it. Not understanding kind of the key threats to the nation, the key capabilities to invest in, so that's very concerning. And then you see the Silicon Valley bubble, which is as concerning to me because they live in this bubble of kumbaya universe where they I remember doing, keynotes in the Silicon Valley, right? And I would have people come and wait to shake my hand and stuff. And always you would have a few, wait in line just to tell me they wouldn't want to shake my hand because, it's covered in blood and we're killing babies with jets. It's just the same kids that are effectively enjoying the freedom and the benefits of it and the sacrifices of the war fighter. They just live in this, cocoon, and some of them even told me they were gonna have to go after talking to me to the puppy room to go spend some time to recover from it, because that's what we have to do now. When you go to a conference, you have to bring a puppy room because conferences can be so scary to people. So when you have that kind of nonsense, and when you enable that, quite honestly, and companies really started to wake up, because I feel like it started with ping pong tables and now it's just completely out of control, and kind of the expectations of employees is completely insane. They fail to often deliver business value, and they still expect, the cushy salary and the cushy benefits, and they do very little work for it. And so that's pretty concerning, right? So, and then you have this anti-military nonsense and anti-American now as well, against the flag, against the national anthem. It's very concerning. And that was, by the way, created and pushed from very early 30 years ago by China. None of this is an accident. It was directly pushed into the schools, the school system in the United States. That's why China is, pretty smart. That's why they scare me a lot more than Russia. They're able to kind of infiltrate and buy from the inside and slowly take over. You've seen it in Africa, you've seen it everywhere. They have this non-threatening ability to show up. And now we can even make penicillin in the United States because effectively 100% of the main capabilities are not here anymore. And so if we were to go into a conflict, we don't realize the dependency of the supply chain. It would be a complete... That's why China is just laughing at us, wondering how it could be so stupid. You've seen it with TikTok, right? You've seen it with all the push of the supply chain to China. It's just and you've seen it with COVID, right? Getting away with this, effectively convincing people that, calling the virus, the China virus, is racist. You wouldn't see that if it was an African country. I can tell you that we would all just call it, the Kenya virus or whatever it is. So it's just interesting, kind of the power, that China has. The lab thing. We all knew it was coming from the lab. There was no doubt when we were in the government, that it was the case. But yet, China was powerful enough, right, to convince social media companies, American companies, to ban the discussion. That is a pretty big, significant threat to the nation.